That's a lot more legit than Alloy. We have a podcast, we have YouTube, we have social
Right.
accounts. I mean, Tired Media is a big
We're out
operation
there.
compared to us. Yeah.
Yeah. Established.
Yeah.
Established.
Yeah, it's going great. I definitely didn't have to do it. I definitely wasn't getting taken on a tour of the factory today, learning about all the machines that are going to amputate my fingers. It's going awesome.
I hope that doesn't happen.
That's funny.
We're apparently at record recordables this year, so prayers up for your boy. If anyone tells me to do anything without locking out, tagging out, I'll quit. I'll leave.
Kevin, Maddie's working at a factory.
Why? Okay, that's interesting.
Kevin, did you not know that the way that I have generally paid my bills is through horrible, precariat manufacturing labor with high injury rates?
Oh, God.
Yeah. So
God.
I'm starting at 6 in the industrial mixing department at like 3 a.m. shifts. So I'll be handling mass quantities of chemicals and like big mixing vats and machines where you have to like carry lockout, tag out locks with you to lock out your machine. It's going to happen like every day. Peter, what's the show?
The podcast is Tired. It's the car podcast for people who understand that cars are bad, with your friends, Rory Carroll, Maddie Riley, me, Peter Hughes, and we are joined once again, our first comeback guest, our Chinese correspondent, Kevin Williams, who is just back from Shanghai.
That's correct.
We got to hear all about it. What was the vibe at Shanghai?
How's the mood? Yeah.
It's so weird. You know, this is technically the third time I've been to China in a year, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. But I was there a lot longer than I thought. I think I was there for 12 days. But I think the mood on the ground was just kind of like, I mean, everyone's just kind of vibing, you know, at least as far as like, you know, when you think about geopolitically when it relates to cars, there was just kind of an attitude of, what are you guys doing in the U.S.? Like it's confusion more than like, you know, like everyone's confused. Like the way that the United States is moving just doesn't make any sense. And then just kind of like, okay, well, you guys go ahead and do that over there. I'm just gonna go ahead and keep living my life here in Shanghai. So and I'm just kind of like, yeah, that's accurate.
That's what I want to be doing, living my life in Shanghai.
I mean, honestly, low-key same. I had a really good time this time. You know, I feel like I had a more rounded perspective of China this time because I did more things outside of working.
What did you do? What kind of fun stuff was there?
Went shopping a little bit, explored the city, you know, went to some bars. Just had a really nice time. It was definitely more, I definitely feel like I got a better feel of both China and the city, right?
Are there vintage shops there?
If there were, I could not find them, but there are a lot of like, you know, local artists and designers and stuff. You know, Shanghai is like really, really fashionable. That's one thing I really loved. So just kind of like, you know, everybody's kind of doing their own thing. And there's a lot of spaces in China, or at least in Shanghai, that like of people kind of doing their own thing. Like there was a lot of like really fun clothes that I wish I could have taken back with me. But I enjoyed myself. I don't know. I feel like if people say that China's just like a one-note copy central, like I feel like they're just being both racist and stupid. So,
What kind of like was there product stuff there, like new product that debuted, or like anything super exciting or groundbreaking?
you know, it's kind of funny because if you read a lot of other media, everyone's kind of like, "Oh my God, this is so shocking," but you know, I for a lot of people, especially in the West, this is kind of like the first time they've been to China since COVID.
Yeah.
So to them, it is shocking. But, you know, I was able to go to the Beijing Auto Show, which was last year, which I think was I think that was China's first auto show opening up post-COVID. And I was like one of the few, like, you know, Western journos there. I think I was the only American in the room. But at least this year at the Shanghai Auto Show, it seems like there was kind of a lot of the same. It seems that they got a lot of debuts and stuff out last year. Not to say that there weren't debuts, because there absolutely were. I think the Chinese automaker Chery, they had 16 models that they debuted. Geely and Zeekr, who are the people who flew me out, they had a couple models to look at. But it wasn't like the huge, everybody's debuting 10 models, and everyone's vying for attention. I think even in China, some people said like what felt a lot slower and quieter compared to Beijing, which I know that sounds kind of crazy, but
Yeah, I liked the metaphor that you used in one of your stories, where you kind of described the last few years in China as kind of being the Big Bang, and what's happening now, like even just like a year out from from that Beijing show, is a little bit of kind of like okay, now we're kind of cruising, but things are kind of like settling into what this is going to be, right?
yeah, it's just because like they one of the biggest like pieces of criticism that's often leveled toward the Chinese auto market, and it's true, and I think it needs to be criticized, is that a lot of these are not solvent. Like a lot of these brands are not making money, and it is true. I think if you look at the numbers on a lot of them, I think BYD makes money, but they're so hugely vertically integrated, and also they make a lot of money on a lot of their profits come from their plug-in hybrid vehicles. The other ones, they're like really kind of struggling. Some of them are like almost solvent. Some of them are way out. And even just in the year from going from Beijing to Shanghai, I think there's like 3 or 4 brands that I know of that didn't make it.
Wasn't there like a push to consolidate a couple of those?
Yeah, it's a push to consolidate, but I don't know how big of a push it is on the state level. You know what I mean? I think the Chinese government's just kind of standing back and like letting the chips fall where they may, to probably the chagrin of like these people who run these brands. I tell people like the Chinese auto market, sometimes it feels like, have you guys seen The Incredibles when Syndrome was talking about how he was going to give everybody superpowers, and he says when everybody's super, no one will be.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how the Chinese auto market sounds, because I mean there are a lot of like really good cars, and I'm like, well, who's going to win here?
Yeah.
And I think this is what's happening in China. I feel like they can't keep investing all these billions and billions of dollars, even if like it's cheaper to do it in China, to make these huge, really big vehicle platforms or new models, and then nobody just buys them. Like they can't, and then like, or maybe something's wrong with it, or they need to fix it, or like they can't just start over.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the market's going in China. I feel like now it's pivoting to, okay, well, we got this. We spent all this money on this big ass project. So how do we get our money back? And I feel like, unfortunately, some of these brands they're just not able to do it, and they're dying.
Wasn't that kind of the intention though? Like investing all that money and kind of like pushing for all that. And then it was like, I mean, I think like the States end and China's end is like, we get a bunch of car companies that are hyper competent at making electric cars, not necessarily like we want to have 100 brands. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's going to sort itself out a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to sort itself out, but it's going to be ugly.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes when we say it's going to sort itself out, it's just like, okay, I guess they just went under. I'm like, that's like thousands of dollars and like billions of dollars, like jobs lost. Some of these brands are like have like put their foot into foreign markets or markets outside of China, only to find out like, oh, we don't have enough money to keep it going. I was reading something about Neta, which is probably another brand you've never heard of. It's like Hosan Auto. They had a fairly decent presence at the Beijing Auto Show. I wasn't all that keen on their cars. You kind of see them fairly often in China, a little bit in Shanghai. But they've been really pushing into a lot of the ASEAN markets, so like Thailand, Philippines, and then also like Latin America, so like Brazil. But I know they like asked for some money from the Thailand government, and I think they're about to default on a few loans. So they've sold like I think 60 or 70,000 units outside of China, and now it's not clear if they'll keep going.
We did see a story a few weeks ago coming out of China that some kind of automotive industry expert, self-proclaimed or not, but he was arguing that, like, for example, the way he sees it, the three companies that he named were Li Auto and Neo and Xpeng, and he did not see a way forward for all three of those companies. Like for this guy, somebody's got to go. like of these three brands. And the thing is, like, I kind of like all three of those brands, and I'm wondering, like, I mean, do you have any sense of that? Do you think that, like, consolidation among, like, those types of brands is a possibility, or is it more like they would, maybe one of them gets snapped up by BYD, or how do you see that playing out?
Yeah, I do see, unfortunately, those brands probably consolidating or being snapped up by someone else. The thing about them, though, is that those three brands in particular, at least Xpeng and Neo, they're really starting to make inroads in markets outside of China.
Yeah.
So I think
Well,
that's kind of like their saving grace. And I think they're really looking to export markets to really buoy their profits here.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have to agree. I think even some of these, like, premier brands here, if they don't find a partner, or either inside or outside of China, who knows what's going to happen. I think eventually, the venture capital money is going to run out, or even if they get, like, state-owned subsidies, or, like, money from the Chinese government, I think one day they're just going to be like, well, it's over. But who knows when that day is? Because I feel like, the whole auto market for any brand of any national origin is just so funny right now. So
Yeah, I've certainly had conversations with automakers recently that are like, we don't know if we're going to have cars to sell, would be one quote. And then another quote would be, we're about to start losing money on a scale that no one has ever lost money in the car business before. That was another recent quote with a car exec. So,
like, no one is winning here. Like, no one's winning, and I'm just like, what are we doing?
We should note that, just for the sake, just for our listeners, we're recording this the day after this kind of preliminary trade agreement between China and the U.S. was announced, that reduces the tariffs, that the U.S. imposed tariffs from 145% to, was it like 30 now or something? So it seems like I mean, it definitely I mean, my perception on this is basically that, like, the U.S. was like the drunk guy at the bar who tries to pick a fight and then realizes very quickly that he's, like, about to get his fucking ass beat, and it's just like, no, dude, bro, we're cool, man. It's, we're cool, right? Again, like, I feel like it's impossible to read. I mean, just the complete volatility and unpredictability of our current administration. I feel like for any, I mean, okay, like, yesterday we were all going to go broke and have empty, shelves at the Walmart. Now everything is fine. But yeah, I mean, for any actual, like, manufacturer of industrial goods, it's like, how the fuck do you, like, work around just this insanity, right? And
I've had conversations like that with some executives in China, and, like, one of the things one told me is, like, we can deal with tariffs, but it's just the uncertainty of what the United States is doing. It's just like,
right.
How do you plan with this? How do you play with these cards? Like, why would we, okay, we decide to establish, U.S. manufacturing, but we abide by the rules where we can't have any sort of like, Chinese-based technology in our cars, whatever that means, right? And then what happens? Then Congress or Trump does an executive order, and then they're like, out of billions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a dumb. We're in stupid times. Nobody can afford anything, and the people who make things that we can't afford, we can't have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fun fact: a Ford Maverick is now $30,000.
Yeah. Well, it's more. Yeah.
When I first started writing about that car or that truck,
Yep.
it was 19.9.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the whole point of it, right?
Kevin,
I mean,
don't worry. We're getting a Slate truck at.
That's right.
The Slate truck is 27.5. It's not 20 grand. It's 27.5 because they're about to take out the whole IRA tax credit.
I saw a thing on Instagram that said it was going to be 20,000. Kevin.
Well, they lied. Okay. I think when I was in China this time, I think I was angrier because it's just kind of like.
You were very angry in China.
And I was mad the entire time. Part of it was probably jet lag because it's literally 12 hours difference, right? But a lot of it was just like, I think even in my job at InsideEVs, which I do like working there, but if we were to have our best of, top EV of the year, and we had the choice that they have in China, it would be a real competition.
Mm-hmm.
I can think of when people are leaving their Teslas and people are asking me what they should buy, and I'm like, I don't know. And I'm not saying I don't know because like, maybe you should choose between this and this. I'm saying I don't know because I don't fucking like these cars. Like I don't think there's any direct one-to-one options for people who have Model Ys or Model 3s. Versus in China, I can name a dozen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's bad.
Mm-hmm.
That is bad. And I think about these people. They don't want Elon Musk to win. They want to push back on him. And you don't have any product.
Yeah.
That's point blank period. You don't have anything I want.
I just tell him to buy a RAV4 hybrid, honestly. It's unfortunate, but it's like there's just not enough good EVs on the market, and like people ask me like what kind of EV they should buy, and I just tell them buy a Prius or a RAV4 hybrid or buy like you're just not, there just aren't options for you. Sorry.
A friend of mine got rid of his Model 3 dual motor and got a Macan Ice.
Yeah.
A used Macan, and I'm like, that's bad. Why are we going backwards? But also I can't blame him.
That's when I turn the Rivian back in, I'm just gonna buy a GX, probably like a Land Cruiser. I just there's not products out there for me.
And it's just so frustrating because every time I get, it seems like every time I go to China, something stupid happens, right? The first time I went to China was when literally as I landed, they implemented the 25% tariff on foreign EVs. Which like made everybody, I think I was once again with Geely, and everyone just looked at me. I'm like, well, I got to change everything I'm going to ask you for this trip because I don't know what else to say. And then the second time I went to China, it was the day after the election.
Ah. Bummer.
Everyone's just looking at you like,
yeah. And I'm like, what do I do? And I'm like, because I'm always I'm going on these things with like, the ideas like, well, when can you come to the United States? What's going to happen if you enter the United States? And like, I just landed on China, I think November 7th. And I'm like, I don't know what to ask you. And I don't know why I'm here anymore, but I'm going to make the best of this trip.
Mm-hmm.
And it came out really well, but it was just kind of like,
Yeah.
what do I do? What do I do? Because there's
the thing that you want to ask them is, can I stay? Can I work for you?
it's frustrating.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're gonna do.
we've been talking about it.
We've been talking about it a lot.
I know we have been talking about it, but I think what pisses me off most about it is that I feel like unfortunately the conversation is always solely distilled down to price. The people are only buying Chinese EVs because they're cheaper, but I'm like, no, these cars are actually really cool.
Yeah, that's been a tough thing to explain recently. Is like, it's not, people are like, oh, we don't want a market flooded with cheap Chinese cars or whatever. And it's like, there's certainly a reputation of like things that are made in China being cheap from a while ago, but like that's just not the case anymore. Like that's just like that. It's like Peter, you probably remember this, but like, do you remember as a kid being like, oh, this, like all this cheap Japanese crap that we were like, you'd be like,
Oh, yeah.
and like people would always complain about Japanese stuff, and now it's like,
Yeah.
if it's made in Japan, it is the literal highest quality thing you could like, whatever
Yeah,
it is.
no,
it's
exactly.
like the
I mean,
Japanese
the thing is, like made in China, like in my mind, that turn happened about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
when I realized it's like, oh no, made in China means it's good, means it works.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just frustrating because it feels like Americans will fight for the right to buy bad vehicles. And like they're gonna talk all this shit about how Chinese cars are not good. They're like a Temu Tesla or whatever. And
Right.
yet they're gonna buy a Silverado and it'll throw a rod at 10,000 miles because they've been doing that shit lately.
What they can't conceive of, those people with that mindset is that these Chinese cars, they're not just cheaper or more reliable or whatever, however you want to qualify that or whatever, but it's like the thing is they're actually desirable. Like there's something that they're products that are like really fucking appealing and really well made and like and in a way that like is I mean, since we talked last time, Kevin, I actually had a chance. I was in Australia a few months ago and had a chance to dip into a Xpeng dealership and a BYD dealership and spend some time and talk to the salespeople in those places at some length and it was like, I mean, exactly like you guys talk about. I mean, it's just like, holy shit, this stuff is fucking nice.
Yeah, it's great, and it's like you sit there in the dealership looking stupid. Right. It's like, oh, this is not like some budget little bullshit that people are buying because they have no choice. Right. And I think of the last time, even European manufacturers, but especially American manufacturers, made any sort of reasonably priced small cars. It's like it seems like they've always made them with like a little bit of contempt. Like they don't like you. They don't like making this car. They don't want you to buy it.
This is a car for a guy who's a piece of shit.
Like, yeah, and I didn't want to make it so fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that that everything in China is going to be like peachy keen here. Like I fully well know that there's a lot of questions that hang over that go beyond just initial quality. Like I don't know how this shit's going to hold up. No one really does though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know what kind of quarters they're cutting. I only know from what I've experienced behind the wheel for like a few hours at a time, right? But I mean, from what I see, it seems promising.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what the highest mileage like BYD car on the road is. Just individual.
I've definitely run in a couple cabs in China, and they were definitely like in the 200K mark.
Oh, well, that's real.
Yeah, they definitely felt it though. But I mean, whatever. It's a taxi car cab, so
right. Yeah.
Whatever.
It probably felt like a 10,000 mile Tesla. Speaking of driving stuff, what did you drive over there?
Okay, so I drove a lot. I actually drove. I drove a Zeekr 007 GT. This Lincoln Co 900 plug-in hybrid. They call it a super hybrid because it's like a blend between electric, plug-in hybrid, and extended range electric vehicle. The Lincoln Co Z20, which will be sold in Europe as a Lincoln Co 02, which is basically kind of like a really nice version of the Volvo EX30. What other cars I drive? Oh, the Neo ET9, which is their new flagship. It's got that Bose suspension from back in the day that I don't know if you saw those videos, but they altered it and basically put it on a production car. The Neo Firefly, which kind of looks like a Honda E. It's supposed to be their new little small hatchback they're starting in China first, but it was originally made for Europe. And then last but not least, the BYD Seagull. I actually had to take a high-speed train to drive it.
Oh.
Fun.
What was the highlight?
I mean, honestly, this was kind of like, they were all pretty good. Because when I drove on the first time when I was at the Beijing Auto Show, and it was a kind of a best of Geely showcase. So Geely had me drive pretty much everything that was new in all their brands that year. And I didn't like everything that Geely made. Like I think some of the stuff is definitely kind of like, I don't want to say stereotypical China, horrible car, but it was definitely kind of made for markets that were not as developed. But I do think this go around, I think the most impressive to me, I tend to like smaller cars, would probably be the Seagull and the Firefly, just because of what they represent. Like I think the Seagull is the best-selling EV in China. Don't quote me on that. I might be wrong. But an hour and a half with it it'll help me understand why. It's just kind of like a scary good car. It's about the same size as the Chevy Spark EV. So not a huge car. But it was only, I think the one that they gave me was top of the line. And it was 11.6. So not quite $12,000. Yeah, and it was just kind of like, it wasn't all that fast, but it can definitely maintain, like, I think its top speed was like 85, so like that's enough.
Do people have a different opinion of the bird Seagull there in China?
I don't know. I think they just kind of picked that name.
It's a hated bird here.
You're right. I think honestly, I think in some markets that car is being sold as a Dolphin Mini. You have the BYD Dolphin, and then the BYD
Dolphin Mini.
Dolphin Mini.
That's adorable. Yeah.
It is, because I guess that's part of. So BYD has two lines. They have like their Ocean line, or I think technically three, or maybe four. BYD's naming scheme is confusing, but they have two main lines, passenger car lines for EVs. They have the Dynasty line, and then they have the Ocean line. In the Dynasty line, all the cars are named after like old Chinese dynasties, like you have the Han and the Tang, and the Qin. But then you have the Ocean, which is where they're named after animals. So you got the Seagull, right, the Sea Lion, which is a terrible name, Seal, and then the Dolphin.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm missing an animal.
I saw the Ocean ones. I didn't see any Dynasty ones. I don't know if those have made it to Australia.
They don't. They aren't. I don't think so. Or if they are, they're named weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking at pictures of the Neo Firefly, and we just did an episode about headlight design, and I love the Firefly's design on the headlight taillights with the three little circles. That's very cute. That's eye-catching.
I think it looks better in person, but I hated it when it came in like on the
I'm immediately a fan. I think it's cute.
What I liked about it is how it drove, because Chinese cars are kind of known for being really soft.
Yeah.
Like they do not want to feel the road at all. Like everything is like super light, super soft, and that car is really stiff. Like I guess their inspiration, they said, in tuning was like the Mini. So I see where they're going with it, and I'm like, okay, that's a car I definitely wanted. And also, what's really nice about it, because the battery is only like 43 kilowatt hours, so it's not very big. But like other Neos, the batteries swap.
I was gonna say, yeah.
So you just pull up to the swap station, and within 5 minutes, you got a new freshly charged battery. And they also like cut the price for you you can basically do like a battery leasing scheme. So I think they'll take off like something like 10 grand from the base price, but of course you had to pay a monthly fee for the battery rental. But yeah, it's such an interesting car. Once again, annoying because like there's so many choices in China that I would have. Like I'm looking for a small electric car, but I would like to have another set of doors. And the only thing I could buy here would be like a used Bolt or a Fiat 500e, both of which kind of aren't all that great or interesting to drive.
Yeah, you're kind of ruined.
I really am. I'm like,
as a shopper.
I really am, and I'm just like, this is some bullshit. Sometimes I kind of wonder, like, with how lax the Trump administration is. I just wonder if I could just like import one and just like not tell anyone.
Yeah.
Right.
Like who's gonna stop me at this point?
Yeah,
Probably the people at the port.
I don't know.
Well, they're all laid off right now, man.
It's not that hard.
Yeah, there's nobody there.
I gotta say too.
Weird shit I see.
I gotta
on
say,
Ohio roads.
This is something I think about a lot living in Michigan. Is it can't be possible to keep track of everything coming to the United States. Like that whole West Coast, it's like, yeah, okay, the ports are surveilled, like all the big places to land are heavily surveilled. But it's like you can't tell, like there's not a place in Alaska where you could like sneak a car in, or like in like, you know what I mean? Like like in the wilds of Canada that you could like. There's got to be a way to do that. May not be cost effective or smart, but I feel like you're right, Kevin. I feel like there's got to be a
Like,
way.
who's going to stop me? What do they know?
Mexico.
What brand is this? What brand is this, sir? Tell me.
Yeah, it's a Chevy. Put a Chevy badge on it and be like, show and display.
Right. It was incredibly frustrating. I'm like, I don't know what we're going to do. And now we're just kind of pivoting back to gas and, sucking the paint off of Trump's dick to get these cars to go back to gas, I guess, right?
Yep.
Like, I don't know what we're doing here.
I think it.
Like, that's their
is.
plan is to sell more ICE trucks that people cannot finance anymore.
Yeah, I think we talked about this a little bit on a previous episode, but it does really feel like the kind of surface level concern or like gestures towards like caring about any of our futures have just been like, yeah, we're not doing that. It's like, fuck it.
Yeah.
I think the way that I put it last time was like, fuck it, the house is on fire. Let's see if we can get any copper out of the walls. And like, that is really what it feels like. It's just like, we're down here. Like, let's wrap it up. But that's like, whenever I talk to you, and especially like when you're in China, Kevin, it's so depressing for me because it's like, it's like, I don't know if China's going to fare any better in any of this stuff. I think probably they will, but who knows? But it's like, it just seems like a place where like maybe optimism about the future is the wrong way to put it, but it's like they're counting on there being a future. Like they're expecting there to be a future where it's like, here, I don't know if I have that feeling anymore, where it's like, it does not feel like we're looking forward to anything.
Yeah, like everyone in China is so young. Like I think it was Lincoln Co. and Zeekr. They told me I think they're designers and engineers. Their average age is below 35.
Wow.
Which is nuts. And I'm like, there's a lot of young talent in China, and it seems like they're trying to utilize them. They're probably working them into the ground too, but still, versus here, I don't see any optimism from like anyone in any sort of work field, whether it's tech or automotive. It's just a whole bunch of old people who they hate everyone else that's not their immediate, like in their immediate circle, and everything else is just kind of like falling apart. They don't care.
I think the guys who are working on armed robots are pretty excited.
Yeah,
that's true.
Really.
The Palantir guys seem pretty stoked.
Exactly.
I think like there's a general feeling of like people like, well, the best I can hope for is that I personally will be okay if I have enough money. Like that feels like the vibe here.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. Which is, I don't know, it's depressing but not unexpected for this country, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah.
Not to change the subject completely, but maybe just to change the subject completely. I was curious about the whole autonomy thing in China, because there was that big BYD rollout of the God's Eye, Celestial Eye thing a while back, and it seemed like there were a lot of kind of promises about the potential of AI integration into automotive stuff, and then like a month or so ago there was that accident that claimed the lives of 3 women in a Xiaomi, right? And it seemed like there was almost immediately a lot of just kind of like a crackdown on any of that type of marketing, and I was curious about that, what the mood is about that, how much of that is kind of like government directed, how much of it is the automakers kind of voluntarily just kind of backtracking. What's the future of autonomy in China?
Yeah, I think it's a little too early to tell, but yeah, a lot of that's pretty much all government directed here, which I kind of applaud the Chinese government for doing that, for like, taking a stand. But basically when I got there, pretty much everybody was like, backtracking about changing the language in their press releases and stuff about what their autonomous driving or driver assistance features, that's what they're called now officially,
Right.
can and cannot do. Like for example, we watched some like self-parking demos where you could get out of the car and let the car park itself. And as far as I know, I think that's technically illegal now.
Oh, wow.
I think when you have sort of autonomous features like that, you have to be in the vehicle.
That seems good.
Yeah, I don't know where it's going to go. I kind of wonder if this is kind of the start of a collapse of autonomy, just kind of globally.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to do the self-driving stuff, but I don't know if there's ever been a real strong business case or utility for it. Because I know I'm going to sound like a curmudgeon. I know you guys are like, we shouldn't be driving, which is true. But I don't think driving is that hard. And also labor to pay a driver is not that expensive.
I totally agree. No, we've been on the same page there. I think autonomous cars are a stupid idea. The big thing is like,
if I'm not gonna buy a car that's gonna drive myself. If driving is that bad, either one of two things: you don't need a car, or B, take the bus.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's the page.
Like, why would I pay? Why would I pay for that?
Yeah,
that's stupid.
Well, that's the thing too. Is like it's like over the years, these companies combined have hundreds of billions, if not more, invested in developing this technology, and it's like, what is the reasonable business plan for like recouping that amount of money? Like, you'd have to be like, all right, every car in America has autonomous driving features, and they cost an additional $50,000 or whatever, $5 million. They cost an additional $5 million on top of the purchase price of the car to make this business case pan out. So yeah, it just does not pencil for us or for me.
No, I don't think it's going to pencil for anyone, but I do think electric cars can. But I think it's very unfortunate that I think it's unfortunate that the two technologies are tied together.
I agree.
That's another really a relic of the Elon thing, though, is like, because of the way that he built and branded Tesla, like that's, they're together now. That's like
And it's just monkey see, monkey do with mostly it's like auto exec guys. So they're gonna ride this until they can't, and then when it finally fails, it's never gonna be anyone else's fault, right? I feel like we're starting to enter that stage, unfortunately.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I mean, we've talked too about like this being totally, market driven, where it's like we're trying to make announcements about technology that's going to move our stock price, even if it's not necessarily technology that we believe that we can deliver on, or that like we think it has a business case or like is in any way useful. And it's like it just feels like that bluff is about to get called on a bunch of different technologies. And like the bubble of just endless free capital getting pumped into these transparently stupid and unworkable ideas.
I mean, with that kind of attitude, it definitely is, Rory.
Well, yeah, I mean, they should be putting their money into automotive publishing ventures. That's what.
I want a few more electric cars, right? Just like something I can drive into the ground until like the sun explodes. But I don't think that's gonna happen because like
it's a weird thing, Kevin. I think like we're seeing, like what you were saying in China, is like you're seeing this point where there are like too many EV companies, maybe too many types of car, and they're like getting to the point where they have to like pare it down. And America had like this very brief moment where a bunch of stuff was announced and some of it came to market, and then it didn't really hit for a number of reasons that we've all talked about.
Yeah, no, it came to market before there was any infrastructure and blah 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 blah.
Yep.
Yeah, but no support, no. We just, like I said, let the free market figure it out, and the free market did figure it out, and the free market decided it didn't want the cars, and now we're not going to get them.
Yep, and now we've got, yep, and now we're going to have a whole American auto industry that's going to make a whole bunch of cars that no one will want, aside from a handful of people that get duped into 84-month loans.
I, dude, I'm excited. I'm excited to get more V8 powered stuff. I'm excited to get a new Dodge Viper. The '90s, the mid '90s are back, baby. Who cares? I'm gonna buy.
Oh boy,
I'm gonna buy a boat. Just joking. I'm gonna buy anything. It's yeah. If we can all just admit we're cooked, then we can really lean into it.
I don't know. I'm slightly more and I mean I'm deeply please understand, I am deeply pessimistic about our prospects long term. But I do think that the current kind of retreat from EVs in the US is a temporary thing. I think that once the kind of current insanity subsides or exhausts itself, or I do think that just kind of like because people are buying them already, even with the kind of I think there are enough people who just want the kind of the ease and not having to go to a gas station. That I think that's enough that I do think that over time, long term, that EVs do have a future here.
I mean, I think
they end up being made, but
the real future is like Chinese EVs. Like that is the if we want EVs in this country, and I think like we want, like, it just solves so many problems as far as affordability and quality and like delivering the type of experience that people have said that they wanted and have said that have kept them from buying EVs currently. I think like it answers a lot of those questions. I will say, Peter, your attitude is very much the tweet that says woke is coming back. If you're still woke, hold diamond hands. Which I agree with.
I just think, I just think that like after the complete collapse of U.S. empire and the complete collapse of anything resembling like kind of middle class standard of living in the U.S., that shit like the fucking slate truck, if I mean, that'll be the only thing that people can afford, and I think that people will buy that, whether it's with the $7,500, whether the $7,500 tax credit still exists, or
we might not even
not.
have taxes. We probably won't have taxes by then.
Yeah, well, we won't have there will be no functioning.
Maybe we'll get
government.
an executive order. That's the only truck we can buy.
Yeah, really.
I mean, if we're gonna get an executive order about what car we can buy, it's not going to be the slate truck. Maybe it will. Maybe it'll be a Bezos giveaway. But I have a feeling it's going to be a Elon
Bezosopolis
thing.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Is there stuff, Kevin, that you're like looking forward to seeing on the Chinese market that didn't debut, or like you didn't see, but like what's coming down the pike that is exciting for you?
Yeah, for me, I probably really like the Xiaomi their crossover. That's basically like a discount Ferrari, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I love and hate the fact that like they keep not cloning, foreign designs, because that's not a clone. It doesn't really look like a clone, but it's definitely heavily inspired of it. But I'm not mad at it because it's really good looking.
What about the new Zeekr SUV, the giant? Full
the 9X. That one's kind of cool, but I also I don't think it's as interesting as Zeekr's other products.
Did you see that in person?
Yeah, but it was a static model with no interior.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's very, very striking. Is it big? Is it like Rolls-Royce big, or is it like?
It is huge. It's Rolls-Royce big.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's handsome.
Yeah, that's there, and it's also plug-in hybrid. I guess in China they really kind of struggle to sell really expensive EVs. They kind of hit a wall which is why if you really go up high, they go from EV back into plug-in hybrid.
At
interesting.
like what level? What level is that?
Like I would say above 200 grand.
Interesting.
I was curious about that Maestro. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. I don't like the way that looks at all.
It kind of reminded me of it's the Maestro S800. It's this it's like a new brand, and I can't remember who the parent
I think
companies
it's Cherry.
involved were.
It's Cherry and Huawei.
Is it? Okay.
It's-
Yeah. Huawei. Yeah. But yeah, it kind of has there was a. Do you remember there was a Giugiaro Bugatti kind of four-door sedan concept car like in the 90s? It reminds me of that, just the kind of funny proportions. I mean, I kind of like it just because it's distinctive and cool, that Maestro. But I just thought it was just an interesting. Is that full EV? Do you know, or is that because they're definitely gunning for that?
Yeah, I think it's both. I think it's like either full EV or plug-in hybrid option or extended range EV option. I'm not sure off the top of my head. I'm not a huge fan of like the Cherry Maestro or Luxeed or Ido stuff that's sold at the at the Huawei store. They all just kind of look a little off-brand to me. But and they kind of are basically like Huawei they do the service, they do the software stack for it. But they also kind of like effectively have made 3 different brands. Because like the Ado stuff is made by either Dongfeng or Series Motors. The Luxeed stuff is made by Cherry, and same with that Maestro, I think. But they all resemble each other, even though they're not made by the same person or the same brand, rather. It's a
Maddie,
very weird arrangement, and
furiously-
it all kind of feels weird in person.
Are you furiously trying to Google this car?
I'm looking at both. I was looking at the Giugiaro and the
can't find
Maestro
it.
side by side.
It looks like it's spelled like Maestro, but with an X instead of an S.
Like you're doing non-binary swag on the word Maestro.
My
See, I'm even wrong. It's actually not even. It's not even made by Cherry. It's made by JAC.
Okay.
So it's
I,
such a weird.
I knew it was a Huawei thing.
I just googled Shanghai Auto Show Maestro, and then I'm comparing that in the Giugiaro.
Oh my! I love this. This is like
I'm not a huge fan of it. It looks underwheeled in person.
my friends at 4G Auto would be happy to address that. issue for me. This would be perfect for my job. My job after my regional.
Your regional governorship when you get to control the Michigan Special Economic Zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like a kind of premier type. You know, it's not just like the executive level. It's like the diplomat level.
Yeah.
Like coach. You know, it's got that vibe.
See, it just reminds me of like, and similar in concept to like the Hyundai Azera, or like the what was it, the Kia Amante? That's what it reminds me of. Like people were like, "Oh wow, it's so nice. It looks like a Jaguar." I'm like, "No, it doesn't. It just reminds you of like, an old cheap brand's idea of luxury."
Yeah.
Maybe that's what appeals to me.
If I were looking for an expensive Chinese car, that's not what I would buy.
Okay.
Well, that begs
What
the
about
question.
the Denza Z?
I don't like
about
the way.
that.
So I don't like the way any of BYD's Denza cars look. They all look like everything and nothing at the same time. Like there's kind of like not a standout design to me. But I also missed the Z at the show. I think they revealed it. There were 2 press days, and I think they revealed it on day 2, and I was only there for day 1.
Okay. I was curious about that car just because they were talking about using. I feel like I heard that it uses like a like magnetorheological suspension thing, which is kind of like that was the technology that was developed by GM and then adopted by like Ferrari and a bunch of other like super high end makers, and I was wondering if they had developed their own, like if that was like under license from GM, or as it is, I feel like in most of those cases, or if they had kind of developed their own thing in house.
I think it is actually licensable because it wasn't technically GM's patent. It was not.
Oh, is it like a supplier?
It was, they're owned by GM, but they're a separate supplier. The dampers were developed by Delphi, you're right, Peter, initially. Developed further by Beijing West Industries in China after Beijing West Industries bought the technology from GM. They introduced improvements, including a redesigned ECU and the introduction of a dual coil system. And so now it's owned by Beijing West Industries. That explains it.
Wow, how interesting.
Yeah.
And for people for the lay people who are listening, magnetorheological, they're shocks, right? It's like shock.
Yeah. So usually in a shock, there's oil, and the flow of it is controlled by valves of various sizes, and the idea is the spring carries your car and absorbs the big shocks of the road, and the damper dampens the shock so you don't just bounce like you're on top of a pogo stick. But magnetorheological fluid is a replacement for the oil in a normal shock, and it can be the viscosity or the fluid viscosity can be controlled by electrifying it. So if you introduce an electric current to it, there's little pieces of magnetic material in it, and it'll stiffen or soften the shock. So like the car can sense that you're on a bumpy surface and will like loosen up, or that you're on a smooth surface and tighten up, and it creates this like incredibly comfortable.
But it does this like instantaneously.
Yeah, it's a magic like the Cadillacs that have it, or like the GM cars that have it. It's like it is incomprehensible how good it is, especially like even compared to like other like big performance car companies have not developed something, in my opinion, that works as well. It's really like the ability to like be comfortable on normal highway travel or whatever, and then like firm and stiff on the track or whatever is just like it's like a magic. It's really a magic technology. But now Chinese owned.
I will say I definitely rode a Buicks in China.
Well, there was that new show car too, right?
Oh yeah, they did. That was actually really pretty. The Electra GS. That's supposed to be like the start of GM's new China redo. Like they're kind of abandoning Ultium everywhere, but in China they have like a whole new idea and platform there. But rode in a lot of Buicks, a lot of GL8s, which is fun fact. It's kind of it's the old venture van with a Buick face on it that they kept facelifting for. I think they facelifted like 4 times. You talked about that last time. Yeah, they're not good. It's so fun, getting picked up by one of these things. You can hear the timing chain noise, it's like wow, no place like home. Right. And then there are the V-Light 6, which is also terrible. But yeah, lots of stuff like that, and also like a surprisingly high amount of Toyota Avalons I rode in, which is interesting.
Yeah. How was that Buick concept car received? Because I mean, it's been my general impression that like Buick is just kind of regarded as kind of like a bit of a joke now.
There was nobody at the Buick stand.
Oh.
Even
yeah, just like the last time. Although I do think this was like received a little bit better than their last little concepts. But there was nobody at the Buick stand. There was like 2 people.
That's so funny.
What else, Kevin? What else can we ask you about the scene there? You said the mood there, and I did get some like social media stuff from people in China who were basically like, if the United States is going to be goofy with this tariff shit, like kind of fuck them, we don't need them. Like we'll just sell cars to the rest of the world and they can sort their own shit out. Was that the general consensus there, or like the vibe?
Yep. Honestly, although at the same time I do know that a lot of those brands, especially some of the higher end ones, are definitely kind of itching to be in the US, but also it's kind of like, we're not going to waste our time. Like it's not going to happen. We're going to have to do something else.
Yeah, I think like I guess that's important too, because it's like a lot of.
What do you expect them to do though? Like clearly it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, but a lot of the framing though in the States was like, China's got to be freaking out. They're shutting down factories and like they're not going to have their biggest export market or whatever. And maybe that's the case for like some lower end stuff, but like like I said, the kind of social media watching that I did from the car industry was like, all right, like you guys have fun with your tariff experiment.
Yeah, and I mean with automotive stuff, it's not like they were going to be allowed into the country. I mean, there's already this kind of protectionist shit in place. That's like, I don't think any of them are banking on the promise of our consumer dollars.
Yeah, especially since they're really starting to eat it up in like Latin America. Yeah. And like other like it seems like they're really stringing together a lot of smaller markets to make it work. And I feel like it's starting to work out for them. I think a lot of these American brands really don't realize how much people are tired of them. They're tired of their bullshit. And there's these newcomers coming on the brand that like these things look fun. They look interesting. They're reasonably priced. So why not give them a chance? It's not like it's going to be better than like whatever shitty Chevy or Holden or Opel that I used to have, right?
It's so funny because like everybody in the car business, it's like you can imagine guys in American boardrooms in the 50s going, well, they're never going to buy a Japanese car, it's like, and then like totally. You can imagine guys in the late 80s in a different boardroom being like, well, they're never going to buy a Korean car. It's like, like just repeating itself over and over and over again.
And I just kind of want to be like, why do you keep listening to these people? What are they that stupid?
Yeah. Fool me once, fool me twice.
Myopia.
Yeah. Fool me 3 times. I mean, I think too, Kevin, you and I have talked about this too, but I think there is just kind of like a baked in level of racism where it's like and I think typical of racism as a phenomenon, there's a big part of it that is like a self inoculation or like it's like a way to reassure yourself when you see somebody doing something better than you, or like when you see something that threatens you. And it's like the Chinese thing is so funny because it's like, watching that car industry kind of spin itself up over the last 20 years, or like watching like the vast like improvements in manufacturing capability, like even outside of auto, like in product that we actually get to buy. And seeing that and being like, well, the Chinese are only capable of copying, or like, well, like it's like you assign these like characteristics to them because it helps reassure you of your position in the world. And it's like, if you're looking at China and you're looking at like, boy, there's a lot of bridges over there now, or like a lot of tall buildings and trains and stuff. And then it's like, how do you keep yourself from understanding that as like a indicator that we're being overtaken? And it's like, racism is how. Just do racism.
They cheated. They copied everything. And I'm like, you know what, man? Sure. And the only thing I know how to do is play basketball, right?
Yeah. And the only thing I knew how to do is eat potatoes, or get drunk. I think that's a lot. I think that, and it's like that's the funny double-edged sword of the racism thing, is it's like you're inoculating yourself or like reassuring yourself against like this idea that you're losing your place in the world, and meanwhile it's keeping you complacent while somebody else assumes your place in the world. It's like
eats your lunch.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't care anymore. I just want a reasonably priced, interesting EV.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't think most consumers care. I'm tired of, and on some level, I'm kind of fundamentally tired of having these conversations about how
Yeah.
China's beating us up. I'm like, okay, well, we know that. What are you gonna do?
Yep.
Yep.
And so far, unfortunately, the answer I've seen is they're not going to do anything but keep complaining,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's like
or maybe go to
realistically-
war. I don't know.
I was just gonna say,
That's it.
or
Yeah, well,
you know, start a hot war,
Yeah, start a hot war with China.
and get ourselves completely obliterated.
We couldn't buy F-150s, so we've started a hot war with China.
Yeah. I think that's also part of the. We often talk, Kevin, about the death drive. It's like it's like we want to get killed. We want to get beat in China and have somebody else take over and just have somebody else in charge, so we can all complain about it. Every episode ends like this.
What's the comic of the guy who like paints all the fire and like scary things and puts them up on his own wall and he's laying on the ground like
Yeah.
That is it's fundamentally us. Yes, absolutely.
Yes. But I'm glad to hear that things are going well in China. Did you do any like public transportation stuff when you were there?
How were the trains? Were they cool?
Aside from the high-speed train, that's about it. I mean, I kind of walked everywhere and then took a lot of like cab. But also like, I kind of stayed in one area of Shanghai for the most part. Aside from me going to Suzhou, because fun fact, the city of Shanghai actually has a ban on cars that are shorter than 4 meters and cost less than I think roughly $13,000 US. So in order to drive the BYD Seagull, I had to go to a neighboring city.
So wait, it's a ban on smaller
Like a K car ban?
than 4-meter cars?
Yeah, I mean you can drive them there, but like if you live in the greater Shanghai area, you can't register them there. I think they think they're. Supposedly, I guess it's supposed to cut down on congestion because I think they think they're too easy to purchase.
Oh, I see.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
Oh, I see. So along with the price, that it kind of
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, but that's the reasoning. So that's why I had to
Interesting.
take a train to Suzhou, which is great because like I think it would have taken a 2.5 hour drive, but on the high speed train it was 25 minutes.
incredible. Barely, you didn't even have time to do the thing where you put a coin on its edge and watch it balance as you're going 200 miles an hour or whatever. I've seen the videos of people doing that.
No, it was great. It was actually very easy to travel there. I really miss it.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool that they get to do that.
Yeah, it is. It's. I'm like I said. I'm very lucky to have gone for 3 times. Hopefully, I can keep going as long as I can. Right until I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was the food good?
Absolutely, had a great time. Love the food. Everything was so good. Everything I ate was great. Generally.
Good food, trains, cool cars. They got it all. They got it figured out.
How's the nightlife?
It was okay. I went out once. Had a really good time.
Nice.
Went to a couple bars. It was great.
Yeah.
Do they have regular drinks and stuff? Like, can you get like American or like Scotch and Bud Light?
They
and that kind
can.
of stuff?
They do. I mean, I think I drank mostly like like some like tea cocktails that they had there, and of course they've got beer, like local beers.
Yeah.
I think Hangzhou, as there the second time, they actually have like a couple breweries there.
Yeah.
So I tried like some of their local beer. Like it was like this tea leaf beer that was really good.
I'm trying to think of like what a downside would be. Did anything bad happen? No.
Not really. Not really.
People were nice to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was really like kind of nice. I don't have any real things to report on that end.
That's awesome.
There had to be like a noisy housekeeper one morning in the hotel or something.
I will say it was kind of annoying that the hotel that I stayed the last time in, somebody was definitely smoking in the building. They're not supposed to. But sometimes it would waft through the vents, and I would smell it, and I would wake up smelling like cigarette smoke. But I mean, that seems like fairly minor. I don't know. I'm a pretty easy-going guy.
Man, We got to get to China, guys. There's no
Yeah.
two ways about it. Hopefully my call Thursday night will result in some time in China. Our friends Kevin finally got back to me. After going
great.
dark for several weeks. Yeah. All right. Well, should we wrap it up?
Yeah. Anything you want to tell people
Plug
about,
or-
Kevin?
Yeah, any plugs?
I don't, but do follow InsideEVs. I'm gonna have some really big China content coming up there really soon. I got some really good video, so stay tuned. As soon as I get this one-man band stuff settled and I can get it all written out and edited up.
Nice.
Well, thank you for coming on. You can follow Kevin at Gaytona USA
So
on
good. Still so good.
Instagram and on X, the Everything app. If you're on there doing your mortgage payment, you can just check in with Kevin. Although you're not really posting there anymore as much, right? You're more on Blue Sky. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's I might just go dark on everything, but follow me on everything because I change my mind a lot. So
Yeah.
feel it.
Yeah. Every day is the last day that I'm on every social media channel, and then I'm back.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, thank you so much, Kevin, for
thanks for coming back
filling us in.
on. It was
Yeah,
super
oh no
fun.
problem. Anytime. I enjoy it. I love talking about China. I don't do it with everyone because sometimes people get on my nerves. But
Oh,
We're,
wrap it
We're
up.
simpatico.
We're
yeah.
sympathetic ear. Yep. All right, man. Thank you. And boys, you want to say the thing that we say at the end?
Yep. Everybody stay tired.
Stay tired.
Stay tired. Thanks.
Thanks again,
All
Kevin.
right.